Today's video is sponsored by Trade Coffee. Now, last month I told you about Trade Coffee. They send you the freshest, best tasting coffee there is. Their coffee comes from independent businesses from big cities to small towns. And they have over 450 coffee types ready to ship to you. And the coffee that they matched me up with this month is this one. It's from Common Voice, and the flavor is called Canopy. Now, it comes from Latin America as a dark roast, and it's got hints of dark chocolate, caramel, and a smoky flavor, and it's awesome. And Trade guarantees that you're gonna love the first bag that they send you because they have a first match guarantee. If you don't like that first bag that they give you, they're gonna work with you to get you one that you love for free. And right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off plus free shipping by going to drinktrade.com/Mr. Terry, or click the link down in the description. And what you're going to do there is start by taking a quiz that lets them know what kind of coffee you like to help make a great match for you. Again, that's drinktrade.com/Mr. Terry for $30 off. All right, let's continue the video. Hey, I'm Mr. Terry, high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video. All right, you guys have been loving the history jokes videos that we've been covering, from Family Guy to Simpsons to Ronald Reagan telling jokes. And I got another compilation for you, and this is from one of the biggest acts in stand-up comedy right now, Jim Gaffigan. And what I have here is a collection of history-themed jokes, and we'll see what he's got. I am so excited about this. So I'll let you know what I think about the jokes, of course. This is a total live reaction. I have not seen these before. I'll try to chime in with some historical context. Maybe you won't know some of the jokes, and maybe I can help you out there. All right, the original video link is down below. Make sure you support Jim. He's awesome. And anybody that wants to do history jokes, I'm down with. Let's bring it. All right, let's get started.
Schoolhouse, and my friend was like, "You see that schoolhouse? That's the schoolhouse where they wrote Mary Had a Little Lamb." And I was like, "Am I supposed to be impressed by that?"
But that's the schoolhouse?
Well, it is a national landmark. And I'm like,
why?
Are people going, "Come on, kids, let's go see where they wrote the worst song ever"? But what I didn't realize is that Mary Had a Little Lamb in its day was a huge hit. It was huge. It was like
Dude, this, you know what's crazy? This is literally what I wore. I have a total dad bod and dress like dad. This is exactly what I wore. Oh my God, I think today to teaching. Like a dark blue polo shirt, black belt, gray pants. I did wear some dressy shoes, but I was very close just to wearing some Nikes because you're on your feet all day as a teacher.
They're Uptown Funk.
Oh, just like this. I have the same body type.
Which makes you wonder, what was going on in the 1830s?
Yeah.
Have you heard that song, Mary Had a Little Lamb? It's the song of our generation.
No, it's not.
It's so complex. It's about this girl, Mary, who had a lamb that was little.
Yeah.
The song explains it better. I'm not doing it justice. My friend told me, he goes, "You know, that song's based on a true story." I'm like, well, I hope so. Because that would be the worst made-up story ever.
Yeah.
How bad were the other songs of that era? Johnny has a little smallpox.
That's what he should have
We'll all
done.
be dead by 30.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite, why does everyone smell like poo?
Okay, everyone dies at 30 and everyone smells like poo. That's pretty much like the theme song of humanity until the Industrial Revolution, because that was pretty much the average lifespan, because you're likely to die from stuff, and everybody would be very, very, very stinky. You just might not realize it because everybody is stinky.
Jim, don't do that. When we were in Erie, Pennsylvania,
we get real pirates
on a pirate boat ride, which was pretty authentic, because when I think of Lake Erie, I think of all them pirates storming the shores of Western Pennsylvania.
Hey, they come up through
There were like
Lawrence,
50
St.
kids
Lawrence
that
River.
were all dressed like pirates. I felt like I was at a children's Jimmy Buffett concert. And I tell you, those kids were having that time of their lives. Kids love to dress like pirates, the murderers and rapists that pirates were. And we think it's...
That's what the pirates, they were gnarly dudes. It wasn't Jack Sparrow, okay? The real history, yeah, it was disgusting. They were thieves. They did some awful stuff and also made a lot of money because piracy was very big back in that era of global trade and exploitation of different lands across the Americas, and it was a major problem. Every major European nation was doing piracy against each other, called privateering, which is basically being a pirate, but you're employed by the government to be a pirate, to prey on the ships of other countries that you don't like, to straight up steal their money. And then when they ended privateering, because governments were getting pissed at each other doing that, those pirates that used to be employed by the government now just work for themselves. And that's usually the pirates that, the independent contractor. They're really not that. But independent pirates that just went and did it themselves because it's a very lucrative thing. That's the real history of piracy.
It's adorable. It's so cute. He looks just like one of those sociopaths who terrorize the Caribbean.
Yeah.
We let our
Caribbean
kids
was like the biggest place for piracy.
Murderers. Darth Vader, that genocidal lunatic. It's fun.
You dress up as
The
genocidal
devil,
maniac.
it's cute.
The blew up whole planet.
Hitler? No.
Yeah, you don't see Hitler costumes. But if it's a fictional genocidal person, there you go, like Darth Vader, then it's okay.
No
Good irony,
parent
Jim.
wants to explain that one. Why is your boy dressed like Hitler? He's fascinated with the Third Reich. He gets it from his father. His father's man cave is all Hitler swag.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
I'm Irish,
awesome.
but I have blonde hair. Supposedly, the only reason the Irish have blonde or red
Vikings
hair
came.
is because the Vikings invaded,
Correct.
pillaged, and probably other stuff.
Definitely
Those
other
Vikings,
stuff.
the Scandinavians, I don't know if you've been to Sweden, it's like a whole country of Scarlett Johanssons.
It is.
If I was in Ireland at that time, I would have been, oh no, some Viking lady's coming to pillage me. I guess I'll hide on this bed covered in rose petals.
A lot of times they've said, like, I've heard this, Swedes, Norwegians, whatever, you can back this up. I heard someone say that the reason why people of Scandinavia are so attractive is because the Vikings had it took a lot of attractive women. I'm trying to word this as safe for work as possible and safe for school as possible. A lot of attractive women they obtained, and yeah. Yep, that's why.
Hopefully she can help me put together that table.
IKEA.
I would do anything for my wife.
Wait, was it King what? Which king? Edward? Henry? Edward VIII.
I would do anything for my wife. I'm aware of that. But there are people that are more romantic. Prince Edward abdicated his right to the English throne for the woman he loved. Isn't that unbelievable? He was forced to choose between the woman he loved or being King of England. And that idiot chose the broad. Now, I'm sure in that moment it was the right decision, and I'm happily married, but even in the best relationship, each person has thoughts where they go, I've made an enormous mistake.
Without being able to be king.
We never thought I could have been King of England.
Yeah.
Do you think Prince Edward really ever got over that? Every time he had to empty the trash, he's like, the King of England doesn't have to empty trash. The King of England can chat with his ex on Facebook. Can you imagine what kind of news of...
Ever heard the joke that, hey, I noticed you have your Facebook name is you and your spouse names combined. So who's the one who cheated?
event that abdication was in the UK? There must have been, he's gone mad. We should get him to hospital. Jim, your British accent is getting worse.
To hospital, to university.
Why wouldn't you take 5 minutes and learn a good accent? It's just lazy.
I love, by the way, the Jim Gaffigan voice of the crowd. He does that. Why would you do that? High voice whisper. If you didn't know, that's him mimicking what he believes like people in the crowd would be saying to each other. It's always great.
Didn't feel any pressure to do anything. Some places you feel like a pressure to do something, like St. Louis, you got to go see our arch. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Go look at our arch. Why don't I just go to McDonald's and see 2?
Yeah. The gateway to the west.
San Antonio, you got to go to the Alamo. I was gonna nap. Oh, you got gonna stand outside in blistering heat and look at a building.
Yeah.
Can't I just say I forgot about the Alamo?
I've heard if people. I watched like it was like a ranker thing where it said like most overrated historical attractions, and yeah, I know like Mount Rushmore was on there. Also, the Alamo was there, especially because a lot of people don't know that the remnants of what you see, yeah, it looks small, but it was actually a part of a way bigger complex that would have been obviously way cooler to see in its heyday.
You know who didn't want to go to the Alamo? The people who died at the Alamo.
But they did want to be there.
Last thought was, I wish I didn't go to the Alamo.
Yeah, maybe retrospective. Davy Crockett didn't do that. They went there to hold it to death.
A rental car company. Can you imagine that level of bravery? 187 Texans fought 2,000 of Santa Anna's finest Mexican troops.
Texans versus
and at
Mexico,
one point,
Mexican
187
Revolution.
Texans just decided,
Texas
we should
Texan
just
Revolution.
fight till we all die. Like, if I was there, I would have been like, excuse me, I love the idea of Texas too, but have you tried this Mexican food?
So Mexico should have won.
Delicioso.
Mexico should have won.
I propose we remember the guacamole.
Okay, do I have to say the whole thing of the Mexican food that we eat in the United States is not real authentic Mexican food? Tex-Mex.
You know, as I mentioned.
So really, if that's what you actually like that Texas became independent from Mexico, because yeah, most of the Mexican food we eat in the United States is not authentic Mexican. But it's great.
Earlier, I did some shows in Europe, and I only bring that up to try and impress you.
Wait, I missed.
For the guacamole.
What's the next one? Columbus. Okay. I mean, you could do a whole show on Columbus. Given Columbus crap, we'll see what he goes with.
You know, as I mentioned earlier, I did some shows in Europe, and I only bring that up to try and impress you. But I flew over, really the only way to get across the Atlantic. You rarely run into someone that's like, you know what, I paddleboard. It was a great arm workout.
Boats.
I flew over. That transatlantic flight wipes people out. People are a mess. They're like, I need a day. I need a day. The flight doesn't sound that hard. It's like, oh, it's brutal. I had to sit and watch 2 movies. I felt like I was being waterboarded.
It's amazing how travel,
I need a day.
car or plane, to get you exhausted.
3,000 miles, 7 hours. We landed. The guy sitting next to me was like, that took too long. It used to take 6 weeks.
Yeah, and you might die.
On a boat.
And a good chance you die. Yeah.
That's how long it took Columbus to get from Spain to the Western Hemisphere. 6 weeks. But you know, once Columbus got here, it was like, I need a day. I am so
that would make sense.
Give me a day and I'll get right down to murdering and plundering.
And that's what they did, of course.
Jim, don't bring up Columbus. You're too white. But Columbus, that's part of our history, right? Columbus ushered in all these people that came to the Western Hemisphere, and some of them did bad things. But humans have done bad things throughout the world. Like in Australia, the way some of the settlers treated the Aboriginals, it was not nice. It was not a g'day.
G'day.
In fact, it was a series of bad days, or bidets.
Bidets.
The kids were with me in Amsterdam. I brought.
He could have been way crueler to Columbus, right? Maybe that's part of a longer skit, though, but whatever.
Or bidets.
Anne Frank.
Kids were with me in Amsterdam. I brought my kids to the Anne Frank house. I told some friends that, and they're like, aren't your kids a little young for the Anne Frank house? And you know what I learned? They are. They're too young. Well, I wanted to bring them. You know, it's an important place.
I learned about Anne Frank. I read the Diary of Anne Frank in, I think, 8th grade. I did a report on it, so that's a good time to start, I think, learning about the Holocaust. She was ended up being a victim of it. She has the diary, right? If you don't know her story, in Amsterdam, and her family was Jewish, and ended up hiding in an attic during the occupation there, and eventually it's captured and become victims of the Holocaust.
I want them to learn, so I brought them. We were standing outside the Anne Frank house, and I said, this is a special, somber place. This is where Anne Frank, her family, and some friends hid from the Nazis for 2 years, and they couldn't speak during the day, and Anne also wrote this diary, so let's be respectful. My 6-year-old raised his hand, and he goes, do they have video games here? And I said, I'm going to need you to be quiet.
6 would be hard to appreciate that. That's true.
For the rest of your life. Bought tickets online to the Anne Frank house. I Googled it. The Anne Frank house has a Google rating of 4.4 out of 5 stars. Who's giving the Anne Frank house a bad review?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, wasn't that fun? It's kind of crowded, and there were no video games.
Yeah. That would be if
Why
kids
do we
could
feel
do
the
it.
need to review everything?
True.
Nobody's going to Anne Frank's house looking for hot dogs. I misread it. I thought it was Anne Frank's house. I was getting ready to have me an Amsterdam dog. East of Quebec
Canadians. We go to Canada?
Amsterdam dog. East of Quebec is New Brunswick, right? New Brunswick in the Maritimes, that's the home of the Acadians, right? The Acadians, those noble, brave people that the English kicked out of during the Great Expulsion. They kicked them out of the Maritimes, and they sent some of them to Louisiana, some of them to the West Indies, and a brave amount of few fought their way back to return to the coldest place on earth.
Yeah. Canadians are very proud, again, of being the French. Now, the French are the original settlers of the region in North America. And then, eventually they, have the war. They have a 7 Years' War, 1750s and stuff like that. But end up losing to the English there. But yeah, it's this great sense of pride that they were like the ones that survived that and then stuck around. But yeah, I've only just recently learned about Acadian history. By learning about it and then talking to one. And yeah, it's like a great pride thing that they have for French Canadians.
But there's like 1 million French speakers in New Brunswick. So there's 1 in 5 Canadians speaks French. So there was this great compromise where the English speakers agreed to take French in school, and the French speakers agreed to continue speaking French.
Yeah, they did. Saying they don't want us to learn English. Because yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You'll see, if you talk to Acadians, a lot of them, and some that I've spoke to, their English sometimes is not great. It's really not, and it's like you wouldn't think that someone in North America like Canada, with so much of the English influence over centuries now, that would at least have that. A lot of them, of course, do speak, but have super thick accents too. But they've been able to retain that linguistic culture for so long, with sometimes only very little manipulation.
Of course, there are Canadians who speak English and French, and they're called flight attendants.
Spanish Empire,
of course, had this great empire, right? Right near in Barcelona is where Columbus left.
Pizarro.
Right? The Columbus, made a deal with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. He's like, I'm going to find a shorter way to India. And he got lost. And he found the Western Hemisphere.
Not lost.
So he's a hero. And they gave him a statue where he's pointing the wrong way.
Hey, the Spanish government ended up going hard on him because even for his time, the Spanish government and other people said that he was like too barbaric. For his time in the 15th century, he got in trouble with the law for that. For his time being barbaric at a time that was incredibly barbaric in these instances. By his own government.
As a result, the Spanish colonized half of the Western Hemisphere, right? They went there and they found all the gold and they brought
Western
it back.
half of South America, Western half of North America.
What'd you guys do with all the gold? Because I've been all around Spain. I don't see any gold.
You got to go back to the 1500s. That was the heyday, right? Before, the next couple centuries, pretty much, with the Americas. So the English and the French start coming a lot more. But Spain, was focused on that. They just ship a lot of it. Go back to the piracy. So many of those Spanish treasure ships, they sent that gold, by the way. Oh, great teaching point. A lot of that gold that the Spanish ended up getting didn't go back to Spain. Okay, a lot of it went west to Asia. They would send it to the Philippines. From there, they would buy things. Okay, from Asia, because places like China, for example, the only thing they wanted from Europeans was money, was gold, silver, that kind of thing, especially silver. And that was because, like, to the Chinese, who are the greatest manufacturers of that era, they didn't want any goods from Europeans. In fact, European goods were seen as inferior and didn't want their goods. They said, we'll take your cash, we don't want your stuff. Your stuff sucks. Well, that's where a lot of that money went.
Even see things you could buy with gold. What happened to the gold? I want to know. But
Franco and
everything
Hitler,
starts later in
couple
Spain.
fascists.
Meals, shows, democracy. Everything starts later, right? Everything starts later.
So what if he goes from Spanish Empire to Franco in this stand-up?
Because, of course, there was the Spanish Civil War, which is a funny topic. No, the Spanish Civil War, and I wanted to learn more about it.
Dress
so I watched some
rehearsal of World
YouTube
War II,
videos.
as they call it.
And now I understand less. But I do know the fascist won. Franco won, and
Correct.
he ruled over Spain for decades,
Right.
Franco. And, of course, he had a son named James Franco.
Oh.
Who directed that movie, The Disaster Artist, but he cast his brother Dave because Spain's all about family. And Franco, someone told me Franco only had one testicle. I don't know if that's true.
All right.
You know, I didn't want to Google it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to get all those one testicle ads. So, you might be interested in these one testicle underwear. I didn't want that.
Do like a noodle.
Supposedly Hitler only had one testicle. Everyone has that friend that brings that up like it explains something. You know, Hitler, he only had one testicle.
I mean, I don't really want to know. I'm sure, I don't know if anyone is going down in the comments right now and talking about or going to confirm the testicular count of the fascist leaders of Spain and Germany. I don't know if I want to know, but I'm sure you'll let me know.
Oh, that's why he did those horrible things. We got to keep an eye on Lance Armstrong.
He had testicular cancer.
Is Lance here? Besides, I can say that joke because I only have one testicle. Well, from certain angles, you know?
Is that a fat joke?
That's disgusting.
I don't understand.
I thought he was the clean comedian. I thought he was.
The Holy
Of course,
Grail.
Catholic
all right.
country here, you know. In Valencia, I saw the Holy Grail. Well, you know, maybe, right? You know, it's possibly the cup that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper.
Out of the Crusades?
Probably not.
Definitely not.
And there are like, supposedly there's two other cups that are possibly cups that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper. But
there are so many like medieval and ancient supposed Christian relics, and it was such a popular thing, especially in the Middle Ages, where all across Europe and in the Middle East, like Christian churches would have these relics of just these like seemingly random things. And people would go and they would pay money to do it. It was a money-making thing. But all these super random things, like, this is the thumb of Saint somebody and the toenail of this person and that. And, you know, it brought in pilgrims all along the way when they would go to the Holy Land. All along the way, they'd make these trips and go to these churches and stuff and pay to go see these relics. They just happened to have all of them.
but probably not. In fact, I have a cup at home that Jesus possibly drank from.
Yeah? Shut up and take my money.
Not. It's a sippy cup, so it was probably baby Jesus. This guy's a jerk. He's just rude.
Remember his crowd voice.
Love
Oh, Genghis.
Asia.
Okay, let's go.
Didn't do a show in Mongolia.
Let's
That's
go.
a disappointment. Those Mongolians, they really slacked off, right? Such a force for like thousands of years.
Biggest
Such a
land-based
threat. Those Mongolians are
empire
coming.
ever.
The Mongolians are coming. Build a wall. Build a wall. The Mongolians are coming. Now they're like, you know, we like horses. I like
true.
to ride horses.
So what happens when you're a nomadic empire, right? They break all those stereotypes and get an empire from Korea in the east to basically Poland in the west, biggest land empire in history. And yeah, if you go and you're like, hey, where was that capital and all this? So like, I think it was here, this Karakoram place, and then it moved to Kambalog, which is going to be like Beijing and all this. And it's such an interesting thing. I'm fascinated by Mongol history.
Cultural shift. You know, Genghis Khan is coming. He's going to conquer the world. Now they're like, you know, I want to open a buffet. You know, that's what I'm into. I just...
Mongolian grill, Mongolian barbecue.
But I went to Red Square, which was fascinating.
Animation?
There was
Stalin, let's go.
Kremlin, and there was St. Basil's Cathedral, that beautiful building.
The Russian Disneyland. Looks like a castle will be at a Russian Disneyland. That's St. Basil's there on the left. Iconic. To the right, the Kremlin, right? Basically a fortress now used as an administrative center of Moscow and Russians.
With the towers that look like soft serve ice cream.
They do. They look delicious.
And you know in Times Square how there are people dressed like Elmo and Dora? Well, in Red Square, I'm not making this up, people are dressed like Russian historical figures. So people are walking around like there's someone dressed like Lenin and there's someone dressed like Gorbachev. And then I saw someone dressed like Stalin.
Is that their Rasputin? Yeah, because that was assassination attempts that he kept surviving.
And there's someone dressed like Gorbachev, and then I saw someone dressed like Stalin.
Gotta have the.
I was like, wow, that's
Stalin.
weird. Didn't he do a couple bad things? And,
the Great
and
Purge.
I was like, that's something you'd never see in Germany, you know?
True.
You know.
You'd never see someone dressed up as
there's neo-Nazis dressed like Merkel. You know what I mean? No, it was someone was
Merkel
dressed
cosplay.
like Stalin, and people were paying to get their picture taken, and a lot of them were tourists from Russia, and they were like, "I want my picture with the mass murderer," and I was asking Russians about this, and they explained that they know Stalin was a monster, but Stalin was also a strong Russian leader.
It's always like, yeah, that's it. He was. Great leader. You hear this with some of the Russian leaders. Great leader, or literally any dictator. He was a great leader, but he was also terrible. Like this dual thing. All right, he's going to talk about Peter the Great. Did I just see that flash? That's awesome. Basically, the guy that westernizes it, and maybe the most authoritarian, maybe impactful monarch of the Russian Empire history of the Russian Empire.
That's important, a strong Russian leader. And you see it throughout their history. Like the most famous Tsar, Peter the Great. He's responsible for the Russian Empire and started their navy. Yes. But he also killed his own son. And I was like, he's still great? And the Russians are like, parenting is difficult. Really? And it's common knowledge that he tortured and killed his own son.
Killing his son.
Kids can be annoying. And maybe Peter is considered great compared to the first Russian Tsar, who was Ivan the Terrible.
Killed his son.
Sounds like a professional wrestler. That was his name, Ivan. Like, did he know that's what people called him? Was he like, hey, do I have a nickname? What do people call me? Do they? Oh, you have a nickname. Do they call me Ivan the Great? No, they call you Ivan the Terrible. Do they mean that in like a positive way? Like Ivan the Terribly Handsome, is that it? No, they call you. What if he was in denial about it? He's like, what'd I ever do?
Well,
what? Well, you also killed your son. Yeah, that's a big Russian thing.
He fought him. He fought him, ended up killing him, and then said he regretted it. Of course, the rest of his life, it was like some fit of rage. He was definitely a dude filled with rage. Go into his history. There's a reason he's called Ivan the Terrible, but also super important in the creation of the modern Russia. It's just, again, one of those dualities of historic people. They do these very important things in history and often have used horrible methods and are known for horrible atrocities.
But Ivan, you also, the architects of St. Basil's Cathedral, you blinded them. That was a misunderstanding. I asked them, could you ever recreate something as beautiful as that?
What's these animations from?
But I thought I heard them say, poke my eyes out. So it's a misunderstanding.
Hi, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want. If you want to see more stand-up, I have more stand-up, or if you want to see an original show like Let's Get Cooking or the Mike and Pat Show, that's available on my channel. But also, just know that I'll be posting a new video every day during this pandemic.
He did too.
Until the world ends.
He was amazing. I remember watching him all the time. He would do a video every day. He'd do all these videos with his kids, and they'd be like cooking dinner and stuff. And he stuck to it. It was actually just really cool. You just got to see him. Amazing how all the people, so many people, content creators, they had to adapt, to the pandemic. Anyways, let's wrap this video up. I'll tell you what I think. All right, that was awesome. I absolutely love that. I love Jim Gaffigan. I loved all the stories there. Hopefully, you're able to learn a little bit. I was able to chime in. Hopefully, that provided some kind of value there. But I thought this was great. Just a great job. And like Jim knows his history too. I mean, that was good stuff. I mean, you can't go into so much detail. You gotta, for jokes to be funny, they have to be relatable. And if it gets too deep, you know, people are gonna miss it. So I think he does a good job of that, like actual history, but then also using relevant topics to connect with people there. And I thought that was awesome. This was a great compilation. I had a lot of fun. I know I'll be watching this again in the future. Maybe I can pull some of these and put them in my lessons. All right. Anyways, yeah, the original videos down below. Sub to Jim. Of course, go to his shows and all that stuff. He's an amazing comedian. And again, if you like what I'm doing here, if you're new here, again, I'm a high school history teacher. I do a lot of content here, and I do a lot of reaction stuff too, where really what I'm doing is giving historical perspective and kind of my opinion as somebody who studied history and teach history to share great things that are out here on the internet, get you interested in history, show you the great content creators out there. Most importantly, hopefully you're learning something. All right, and with that, hopefully I earned your sub, earned a like, and I hope to see you more in the future. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.